Daniel Foster was a good-looking man. Daniel Foster was the best-looking gentleman in London. He had curly brown hair, grey eyes, and a handsome face. He also had many friends. However, Daniel Foster did not have much money. His father had been an officer in the army. His father was dead now. Daniel had his father's sword and a few books, but no money. Daniel had tried to do several jobs. He had worked for a tea merchant selling tea. He had worked for a wine merchant selling wine. But poor Daniel was not good at anything. Daniel was in love and wanted to get married. He loved Emily Hartley, the daughter of an army officer. Emily loved Daniel, but her father did not want them to get married. "You're a fine young man," Colonel Hartley said to Daniel, "but you have no money. My daughter cannot marry a man with no money. You may marry my daughter when you have £10,000. Daniel did not have £10,000. He did not have £10. His old aunt gave him £4 or £5 a week. Today he had only £1 in his pocket. Daniel was almost broke. Daniel had a friend called Marcus Reid. Marcus was an artist who painted pictures of people. He was a good artist and quite famous. Many people wanted him to paint their portrait. People came to Marcus's studio. Marcus painted their portraits in the studio. Marcus's pictures were very expensive. He only painted pictures for rich men. Daniel visited Marcus Reid in his studio. Marcus was working on a painting. "What do you think of this?" asked Marcus. "And what do you think of my model?" Daniel looked at the painting. It was a picture of an old beggar. Marcus was painting a picture of a man who was standing in the corner of the studio. The model was an old man dressed in old, torn clothes. The old man's face was sad. With one hand, he held out a hat. In the other hand, he held a stick. "My model is wonderful," said Marcus. "Have you ever seen such a wonderful beggar?" "Poor old man," said Daniel. "How sad he looks." "Of course," said Marcus. "I don't want a beggar to look happy." "How much is a model paid for standing in your studio?" asked Daniel. "Not much," answered Marcus. "Only £1 an hour." "And how much money do you get when you sell a picture?" asked Daniel. "For this picture I will get £2,000, said Marcus. "You're a rich man. I think the model should get some of the money," said Daniel. "Nonsense, nonsense," said Marcus. "It's difficult to be a painter. It's not difficult to be a beggar. Few people can paint pictures. Anyone can beg. But many people want to be rich and famous painters," said Daniel. "No one wants to be a poor beggar. You artists are very unkind." Marcus Reid laughed. "I'm busy," he said. "Sit down and stop talking." A servant came in. "A gentleman is outside, sir. He wants you to paint his portrait. Can you speak to him, please?" "Don't go away," Marcus said to Daniel. "I'll be back in a moment." Marcus left the room. The old beggar sat down on a chair and rested. His hat was still in his hand. The old man looked so sad that Daniel felt sorry for him. Daniel put his hand in his pocket. He had £1. It was the last of his money. "Well, he needs the money more than I do," thought Daniel. Daniel went across the room and put the £1 in the old man's hat. The old man was very surprised. He looked at the money and smiled. "Thank you, sir," he said. "Thank you very much." Marcus Reid came back into the studio and Daniel left. He went to see Emily and told her about the beggar. "You gave all your money away," said Emily. "That was very foolish. My father will never let me marry a foolish man. You are very foolish, but you are very kind, and I love you very much." That night, Daniel met Marcus Reid at a club. Marcus was looking very pleased. "I finished that picture," said Marcus, "and my model was very interested in you. He asked me lots of questions." "Poor old man," said Daniel. "I wish I could help him. What did he ask you about me?" "He wanted to know everything about you," said Marcus. "And what did you tell him?" "I told him everything," said Marcus. "I told him all about you. I told him about Emily. I told him about Emily's father. I told him you want to marry Emily but have no money." "Marcus," said Daniel angrily, "you told him all about my private business." "Don't be angry," said Marcus. "You don't know who I was painting the picture for. I was painting it for Baron von Ashford. He is one of the richest men in Europe. Baron von Ashford was my model. The Baron dressed up as an old beggar." "The Baron von Ashford!" cried Daniel. "You mean that old beggar was the Baron himself?" "Yes," said Marcus. "But I gave him £1," said Daniel. "Now I feel foolish." "You gave him £1," said Marcus. "That's the funniest thing I've ever heard." Marcus Reid could not stop laughing. Daniel walked home. He felt foolish. He had given his last pound to a millionaire. Emily's father would hear about this. The colonel would never let his daughter marry a fool. The next day, Daniel Foster had a visitor. Daniel did not know the man. "How can I help you?" asked Daniel. "I have come from Baron von Ashford," said the visitor. "Baron von Ashford," said Daniel. "I did not know him when we met yesterday. I want to tell the Baron that I am sorry. I think I was rude to him." The visitor smiled. "You were not rude to the Baron," he said. "The Baron asked me to give you this." He gave Daniel an envelope. Daniel thanked him and looked at the envelope. These words were written on the envelope: "A wedding present to Daniel Foster and Emily Hartley from an old beggar." Inside was a check for £10,000.